Well, I've just seen the film, so it's a pleasure to talk about it. So fresh in my mind. It was such a daunting performance for Eddie and for yourself. So, what was the main source of inspiration for you?
Well, I just constantly am playing someone like Jane, who's this incredibly resourceful, strong-willed woman who also had this enormous capacity for love and care for another human being. I just really was in awe of her and had huge respect for her. So my challenge was to bring all of her complexity and nuance to the screen.
It was interesting how you worked the body language along with Eddie on how they worked together, especially after a few years of being used to his disease, how she moved. Tell us about that.
Absolutely. I feel whatever character I'm playing, I like to think about how does this character walk? You know, what do they have a particular way of moving, and also how do they speak? And finding those elements really unlocks the character. And it was very important with this that, you know, Stephen and Jane, they become like one person. So I was interested in seeing how Jane's physicality changes in relation to Stephen's, and that in many ways they're a counterpoint to each other. And there was something very dance-like in that interaction.
Was her book the main source of inspiration for you, or did you get more research?
Well, I mean, I approach it a bit like being a detective. So I just, every bit of material I can get my hands on to do with that person. So I would watch, there's many documentaries made about Stephen throughout, you know, from when do they start? I think they start in the 70s until present day. So anytime I saw, there'd be like 3 minutes with Jane, and I'd just watch it over and over and over again. And then, so that was a big part of the research. And then meeting Jane just made my job so much easier, because there were all these idiosyncratic elements to her and that I wanted to capture, and an eccentricity that she has, but also a humor and it was just, you do everything you can in order to play these people as truthfully as possible.
And apparently meeting Stephen Hawking, he's got so much charisma himself, makes you understand why he's so, you know, popular in popular culture. Right?
Absolutely. He's such a movie star. He really is. When you're around him, you think whatever Stephen would have done, he'd have been incredibly famous.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah.
Do you feel, I mean, for me anyway, it's a movie about a body that might be dying, but a mind that's more alive than any moving people. Do you agree?
Absolutely. I feel like the film is just full of these opposites, in some ways these contradictions. So as Stephen's body becomes more constricted, his mind explores even further, and he becomes, you know, more and more obsessed with what the mind can do. And then in the same way, what I liked about Jane is she's very religious, but she's not cliched in that sort of puritanical sense of religion, but she's a woman who still has a very strong sensual side, and nothing is as it seems, and nothing is cliche, which is what I loved when I read the screenplay.
Was Cambridge full of their stories, or stories of people who've been there and had a memorable life?
I think it's a very, it's a very intoxicating place.
Yeah.
And we were so fortunate to film there for our first week, so we could absorb the atmosphere of Cambridge. And in many ways, for the opening of the film, Cambridge is like another character in the film.
If you see, you know, Eddie Redmayne's boyish looks, and then Stephen Hawking, and you can't really make the physical, closeness about the characters. Now that I've seen the film, he was so perfect for the role. So why in your mind was he so great for it?
I feel like Eddie's such a talented actor that he could take on anything. You know, he's very, very chameleon and very, very versatile. And always, you know, he didn't do an impersonation. It was full of truthfulness and huge admiration for him.
Yeah, it's incredible how he felt the character, and that's not an easy thing to achieve in the circumstances.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, it's always with any character, it's you want the emotional life, but also the physical life, and those two have to be in tandem with each other.
Well, obviously everybody's, you know, giving this film award potential, talking about nominations for you, for Eddie, for the film. Did you feel that it was that kind of film when you were shooting it, or is it usually irrelevant to, you know, making a movie?
I mean, you never know. That's what I found. I've made films before and they don't always turn out how you expect, or audiences don't necessarily respond in a way that you'd hope. And so it's just, I mean, it's hard to distill what it is when something seems to move an audience. But I did feel like there was an incredible connection and chemistry between James, Eddie and I, and we all just wanted to make it as the best film we could possibly make. And so it's been wonderful that people have responded to it.
What would you like audiences to take out from it, essentially, for you personally?
I don't know. I don't really like to dictate what audiences are supposed to think. I think, I love films where I'm still thinking about them a few days later. So hopefully that will happen with this.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's quite engaging, and at the essence of it, it's about love and what you do for it, isn't it?
Absolutely. Well, I guess it's a film ultimately about not being totally individualistic. That in the end, the things that you will remember and that outlive you are your connections to other people.
Have you already felt what people were interested to know about Jane and Stephen's lives without seeing the film yet? Do you know what is most interesting about them to the audience?
I imagine people don't know a lot about Stephen Hawking when he was a young man, or about this relationship. I imagine there'll be a lot of surprises for people when they see it.
And did you know of him long time ago, or did you get more familiar with his life more recently?
Well, he's such an icon.
Yeah.
I've grown up knowing about Stephen Hawking. So it was really nerve-wracking when I went to meet him, because he's one of those people you feel like you know them so well. But I didn't know actually the complexity of his private life. I didn't know about that, so it was just such a surprise to find out about all these complicated elements, and has lived such a fascinating life.
Yeah, no, I agree. Should you be nominated for, an Oscar or a Golden Globe as Best Actress, how would you react potentially?
Gosh, well, it's kind of surreal to have, to even think that could be a possibility. But I mean, it would be fantastic. It would be tremendous. It's such a film that I care so deeply about. So that would be wonderful.
Yeah, and James is such a passionate character himself. So what do you feel he brought in terms of, passion and feel and essence to this film?
I feel he's an incredibly skillful, sensitive director who has an innate understanding of the people he's working with, and he gives you freedom to explore, but he harnesses, he makes you feel safe, and you're very much he knows the story that he's telling, but he's confident enough to let you have freedom within that to find new things on the day and be spontaneous. I really, really loved working with him.
Yeah, and the movie has the right element of, the entertaining part and this, soulful, engaging part. Do you feel that those roles are far and few? Are they difficult to find? The mixture, there's some fluffy roles and there's some too dramatic roles. This is a nice combination.
Yeah, I do. I like that James and Benoit, the DOP, that they made a film that I don't feel can be easily boxed. It's set in it's a period drama in some ways, but it doesn't feel stuck or diminished by that. It just feels that I love that it feels very fresh, and hopefully people will enjoy that in it. There's it's just about falling in love and trying to make the best of your life while you're here.
Yeah, it's quite sensual as well. All the details, are very important. It's very poetic at moments.
Yes, that's what. And that early on, I remember watching rushes in the first week, and I remember saying to Eddie, "Oh God, it's so detailed. Just the way it was being shot, and the attention to foot movements and little moments were being captured, and that was really, it was exciting, but it was also quite nerve-wracking, because for Eddie and I was suddenly like, we've really got to know what we're doing, because everything is being explored in this film.
Well, you did know what you were doing, so that's,
that's good.
That's good. So what's your fondest moment of filming this?
Oh gosh, I mean, it was It is. I felt a lot of pressure because you're playing real people, but I did feel like I loved doing those early scenes. And there's a film, Splendor in the Grass, with Natalie Wood and Warren Beatty that we were all loved. So we used to watch scenes of that and wanted to bring that in that film they're so in love with each other and there's such sort of youth and passion, and it was fun to be able to bring all of that, hopefully that reality of what it's like to fall in love to the screen.